Initiating satellite scan.
To talk about Battlefield 6, I need to talk about where I came from. I grew up at a different time. A golden era of Battlefield games. 4 of them to be specific. 1942, Vietnam, 2, and 2142. We need to go back in time. Battlefield 2 is a lot of what Battlefield 6 does right, and a hybrid of Bad Company 2 and 3 and 4. But what made this game so good was its predecessors that were also amazing games. And those are the ones that I grew up with in my childhood. The 4 core games of Battlefield are Battlefield 1942, Battlefield Vietnam, Battlefield 2, you're seeing the intro for, and Battlefield 2142. Unofficially, 2142 is essentially a Battlefield 2 amazing revamp of the entire game, with one of the best Titan mode being one of the best game modes ever created, but it is still just Battlefield 2 in the future. So if we really want to talk about Battlefield, you have to feel the energy of back in its golden era and the amazing feats of what it was and what the core came from. It's not just the gameplay, it's the feeling that a true combined arms gameplay can offer. And for us to talk anymore, we have to go back in time a little bit more, before Battlefield 2. Oh wait, the time machine went back only a little bit, but we're okay. We're in Battlefield Vietnam right now. This game had a lot of the innovations that later became the core of the Bad Company series. The feel, the rawness, the power of the insurgency, it was all here. And even more, it had a kick-ass feel. One of the neat things with Battlefield Vietnam, aside from asymmetrical warfare, with all sorts of pungy spikes and crazy traps and tunnel spawns, which later became spawn beacons throughout the series, was the fact that you could play music over 20-ish tracks across every single vehicle. You haven't lived until you played Ride of the Valkyries in a Jeep with C4 strapped to the front, and you're just hoping you make it in time to knock out the tank before it flips your flag. My goodness, what an amazing game. And the jet and helicopter combat that was in this game was well before its time. But we need to go back a little bit further. Mind your feet now, ladies and gentlemen. We're stepping on hallowed ground now. After all these years, it still puts chills down my spine hearing that music in its real way, and not in the synthwave modified mess that the later games made it. Yes, synths are beautiful. They're amazing things. Look what they did in the Dune series, for goodness sake. But what they're not for is for this type of game. You need big, heroic brass, and you need heroic strings pulling it together. And by the way, together was what this game was. I remember the beta for 1942 being just Wake Island, and guys that I was rolling with, we were debating whether to buy the full game because it was that damn good. You had ship combat, submarines, aircraft fighter bombers and fighters all mixed in this incredible game that had FPS, tanks. We saw nothing like this before. And the game lived up to its amazing things. Later on, the expansion packs like Secret Weapons of World War II were truly awesome. The Sicily one was only okay. But the game itself was so feature-packed, nobody could put this thing down. It revolutionized this type of gameplay, where you had this unheard of 64-style gameplay, 32v32 up to. And the bots sucked, but guess what? The players didn't. And I'm sorry that you can't experience this for the first time like I did as a child. Being able to boot up your game and having a ball, and we didn't know how good we had it. I say all this because, to me, Battlefield 6 is an evolution on 2, and some of the stuff from 3 and 4, and Bad Company 2, etc., etc. But it all built on this. And the energy I feel for Battlefield 6, it brings me back to my childhood. It brings me back to my teenage years, playing through Vietnam and 2, and, oh, what's that? That's right. We didn't bring up 2142. So there is another contender to talk about before we get to 6. And I know you all like my kind of content, I'd like to think. So let's talk about 2142, 2's expansion pack little brother. That's one of the best games of all time. You see, unlike Battlefield 1942 in Vietnam, there needed to be a plot for 2 in 2142. 2 had an okay plot of modern warfare that thankfully never happened in most of it, but 2142 took it a step further. What if there was a new ice age, and suddenly the European Union had to fight the Pan-Asian Coalition, PAC, who was banded together multiple different countries to face them? Well, you get some crazy shit, like Tunis Harbor invasions, and one of the coolest things in 2142 it'll get to is 2 things. 1, walkers, and 2, titans. Not in that order. Titans were far more important than every single other thing. 2142 breathed new life into a series that really didn't know where to go, and it took a lot of the advanced squad techniques and systems and unlock systems that were in place for Battlefield 2 that Vietnam in 1942 did not enjoy. You see, in 1942, for example, in Secret Weapons, you could find a flamethrower sitting on the floor on the second floor of a building, or some neat rocket plane everybody's arguing over who gets to fly it, or a remote control missile system. But these things were not unlocks that you could spawn with. 2142 had motion mines, motion mine bait. You had spawn beacons, which came in from the Vietnam tunnel system, but you came in like sky falling like a dart out of the sky. Completely different beast. Hover tanks. It just basically showed that there was new life to be found. And here it is, in all its glory. Both sides had these amazing systems called Titans. Now, early on, you weren't allowed to move these things because it kept crashing the servers, but eventually that was figured out to a certain extent. And some of the best maps were in the Northern Strike expansion pack, where the Goliath came in. Beautiful giant creature that had a destroyable hardpoints on the sides. Honestly, would be very, very good in Breakthrough for Battlefield 6, one can dream. But the Titan match alone was by far the outstanding part of this game, and it's a tragedy that they didn't continue the Titan matches. I don't know if we're ever going to see a 2142 ever again, and that's sad. Again, I feel for people that weren't here during this time when the community was massive, and it really enjoyed these type of things, and my goodness, the amount of hours I put into these games was a ball. So when I tell you that I'm excited about Battlefield 6, and I'm comparing it to these 4 games, it's gotta mean something, right? With some perspective. And I want to say that the gameplay currently in Battlefield 6, it feels a little too fast. The time to kill is too quick in my opinion, but that's my opinion. I think with the bigger maps that we hopefully will be playtesting and in the next playtest starting this weekend as of recording in August 13th, should start on the 14th, the open beta should have the bigger maps, and that would be more Battlefield centric, especially on Conquest and such. One surprise to me was this breakthrough mode that's actually quite fun. It's probably a standout on these smaller maps like Cairo. Especially, one of the things that I think is happening is that a lot of players have to get reused to the gameplay mechanics and playing together. Squad-paced conquest modes are going to become the rule of the roost, and there traditionally is a hardcore mode where there's a faster time to kill, and also tanks and such don't have unlimited ammunition. There's a non-hardcore mode that allows unlimited ammunition in the ships and vehicles and whatever else, aircraft, and then also the time to kill is slowed down slightly to make it more fun and more responsive for squad-based gameplay. I'm not saying that Battlefield has ever been a situation where it hasn't punished lone wolves. It always has been. Something where if you can at least team up with one or two other people, you're going to have a much better time. But the pickup match type gameplay of Breakthrough, I feel Battlefield 6 is a step in the right direction for people who just refuse to work together or want to team up. You know who you are, that's fine. Breakthrough, you're at the most attacking 2 points or 1 point at a time, depending on the part of the game, the map you're at. And it forces everybody to run in the same general direction at least and shoot in the same general direction. I do want to compliment the customization modes, which have clearly came from 3 and 4. And I gotta say, there is an immense amount of selection. There's also not just rifles, they've got carbines, SMGs, just like the old days of Battlefield 2, the MP7's back and other such ones. The P90, I heard through the rumor mill, is also going to be on, so I can't wait to test that out. And also shotguns are surprisingly good. Hopefully they don't get nerfed. So the one, and of course the L86 and the other wonderful bullpups from across Europe are in, so it will be interesting to see where they go. I like the UI, I like the gameplay, I like how fast you can get into it. I welcome additional maps to really get a feel of how it is. I even appreciate the fact that there is no longer this goofy plugin that you have to put on a browser to play your game online. Let's face it, the real Battlefield game, no matter if there ever is a single player campaign, is the multiplayer. And it should be in-game, and it should be loadable from Steam. And that's what this is. Now, I do want to address the elephant in the room, and that's secure boot. Be sure you figure out secure boot in the open beta. So if you can't make it work on your computer, or you choose not to add secure boot, or you decide hey, I don't have this thing, I don't want to figure it out, you don't go buy in a game and then you have to figure out how to refund. There is a requirement for secure boot to work with their anti-cheat system, and that is obviously a major problem. For me, it wasn't that big of a deal. My Asus motherboard that's only a couple years old, in order to do all this on Windows 10, I was able to get it running no problem. Looks beautiful, great game, a lot less bullshit than I expected, to be honest, and a great time. I also like how plentiful the revives and the defibs in general, as well as the EpiPen looking things are. They need a little bit more rework on that, especially not necessarily them, but the health recharge system. It's way too fast. It feels like a sci-fi game. You tuck your head in a corner and like your shield recharges on your player character. That needs to really get toned down a lot. It should be punishing to make stupid mistakes, and even if you don't die, you're wounded and you have to rely on your teammates to heal. Within reason. If you just notice in the bottom left, while I'm in combat, ducking for just a moment, my health went from 70% to like 100% instantly. So there has to be a happy balance somewhere. I totally understand people wanting to get back in the game and having a good time, but there's med support packs all over the damn ground everywhere you go. It's kind of weird to say that this is not something that's for everybody available. So that's my fast initial take on Battlefield 6. I hope you had fun going with me through some of my adventures in my first 4, and I hope that this becomes the 5th game in the Battlefield series that I can't put down. Welcome you out there on the battlefields, and don't forget the open beta is this weekend. Have a good time. I'm going to include a link in the description to a revamp of Battlefield 1942's OST done by the person who made it. It's very good. I wish I could put it in this video. Again, thank you to my longtime subscribers for being here. Greatly appreciate y'all.